Good morning, madam. Good morning. How are you doing? Hope you're fine. So, in today's lesson, we're just going to discuss lipids. So, lipids, they are also biomolecules, just like we have carbohydrates, vitamins, nucleic acids, amines. They are also types of biomolecules. So, let's try to understand what are lipids. Of course, we understand the term fats, oils, but what are these? So let's try to discuss the term lipid itself. So lipids, they are types of biomolecules that are able to dissolve in non-polar solvents such as alcohol, benzene, chloroform. But they are not able to dissolve in polar solvents as water. So you can simply just say lipids are biomolecules that are insoluble in polar solvents such as water, but they are soluble in non-polar solvents such as alcohol, benzene, and chloroform. So when we say polar, a polar solvent is a substance that has got charged particles in it or charged ion. Example, water. Water is a polar solvent because it has got charges. But when you talk of non-polar, they don't have charges. So when you get a lipid and you put it in a solvent which is non-polar, which does not contain any charges, it will dissolve. But once you put it in a solvent or a solution which contains charges, it will not dissolve. So example of such a solvent is what we call water. So lipids, they are insoluble in water and they don't like water. For the fact that they don't like water, we use a term to describe that effect as hydrophobic or amphipathic. So hydrophobic or amphipathic means they don't like water, they reject water. All the lipids, they don't like water, so they are hydrophobic, meaning hydro means water, phobic means fear, so they don't like water. So let us look at some of the types of lipids. So lipids, there are many, they can be classified. There are several types of lipids. So the first class of lipids that I want to discuss are what we call the fatty acids. So they are what we call fatty acids. Then the second one is what we call glycolipids. They are what we call glycolipids. Then there is what we call sphingolipids. Then there are what we call triacylglycerol. Triacylglycerols. Then we have what we call waxes. Then we have steroids. Then the last one is what we call prostaglandins. So the prostaglandins, they are also another class of lipids. But we shall discuss each of these types or each class in details. So let us look at some of the functions of the lipids in general. Whether they are prostaglandins, they are fatty acids, they are glycolipids, they are sphingolipids, they all have these attributes, or they all have certain functions. So some of the function is that number one, the lipids, they store energy, they are storage of energy. That's the first function that they play in a human body or in animals. So these lipids, they are mostly made up of hydrocarbons, which are long chains of carbon, which contains the carbon hydrogen bond. So every time you break the carbon hydrogen bond, you produce a lot of energy during the process of respiration. So because most of these lipids, they contain long chains of hydrocarbons, makes them to produce even more energy compared to glucose or any carbohydrate. So a person who takes in lipids will have more energy compared to a person who takes in more carbohydrates. Then the second thing is they are used in the formation of the cell membrane. So most cell membrane of animals, they are made up of lipids. There is what we call a phospholipid bilayer, because I said most lipids, they are hydrophobic, they don't like water. So because of these effects, they are used in the formation of a cell membrane. Then the other thing is that they are thermoregulator. When you go in the human body, the organ, which is the skin, under the skin there is what we call the adipose layer. So the adipose layer contains the adipose layer is made up of lipids. They can be fats. In animals, lipids exist as fats. In plants, they exist as oil. So under the skin, they are what we call fats. Those fats, their function is that number one, it prevents the body from losing too much heat. That's why you find that fat people usually they don't feel cold anyhow because they have a large deposit of fat. So it acts as a thermoregulator, meaning it controls the body temperature. Like they don't lose body heat easily because of that adipose layer, which is a layer of lipids. Then because of that same, most organs in our bodies, like the heart, the kidney, the liver, they are surrounded by these fats to cushion them so that they can be shock absorbers in case you are you come in contact with a certain object, or you are hit maybe on your chest or whatsoever part of your body. Your internal organ won't be damaged. These lipids will act as a shock absorber. So most organs, they are surrounded by these these lipids, which act as the cushion. The last function that I want to share with you is that they are precursors of most of other chemical compounds such as steroids and hormones. So what I mean by precursors is that the building blocks of many chemical compounds in the body are carbohydrates and lipids. So sometimes the lipids are used, they are broken down. The structure that is needed to form a complex molecule like a vitamin will come first from the lipid. So a certain lipid will be broken down, and then thereafter it can be built up using what we call remember those metabolic processes. We have catabolism and anabolism. So using those processes, one lipid will be broken down by catabolism, then its product can be built up into either a vitamin or an hormone, which is a steroid, using the process which we call anabolism. So they form precursors. So a precursor is just a prerequisite of a certain compound which needs to be formed. So those are some of the few functions of most lipids, whether you're talking of prostaglandins, we are talking of fatty acids, you're talking of waxes, you're talking of glycolipids, you're talking of sphingolipids. They will all have those attributes. So in this video, we just talked about what are lipids, types of lipids, and the function of lipids. So in my next video, I'll talk about